Chapter 163 Shizun and Bugui. Like the other 20-odd youths who had gone to the forest to hunt deer, Shu Meng was planted with the Chenlong chess piece. At present, he had stepped out onto the frozen surface of the lake, his expression empty and lifeless. As ghosts poured from the sky, he and the others were like a swarm of dauntless puppets. Fearing neither pain nor death, they swung their swords at the evil spirits to keep them at bay. They paid no mind to the ghosts that ran off and disappeared into the night. The purpose of these chess pieces was obvious. They were guarding those 5 elemental arrays. Chuaning couldn't bear to see his disciple manipulated like this. He tried to keep his cool and failed. As he was about to storm over, Moran held out a hand and blocked his way. "Let me go," Chuaning warned through clenched teeth. "Don't go yet. Wait a little longer." "How can I wait? That's Shu Meng." Chuaning was too strong for Moran to restrain with one hand. He had no choice but to wrap both arms firmly around Chuaning and clap a hand over his mouth. He was determined to hang on, howsoever Chuaning struggled. "It's too soon to go over there now," Moran said quietly, his breath hot against the back of Chuaning's ear. "Don't be so impulsive. Listen to me, okay?" He was rewarded with a fierce jab to the ribs. Moran endured the pain as Chuaning pried away the hand covering his mouth and gasped for air. Phoenix eyes blazing, he said in a dark voice, "Spiritual power erodes quickly under the control of the Chenlong chess formation. There are vicious ghosts on all sides. If anything goes wrong, he'll die." "That's not gonna happen." Chuaning glowered wordlessly. Moran grabbed Chuaning's hand, his expression resolute. "I understand the Chenlong chess formation. Trust me." Seeing the solemn look on Moran's face, Chuaning was somewhat surprised. Still, his breathing gradually slowed as he calmed himself. An eerie whistle sounded in the distance. They turned as one to see a vengeful ghost tumble out the sky and pelt toward Shu Meng. Steel sang, and Long Cheng's curved blade reflected the frosty moon as Shu Meng leapt up with the grace of a swallow and ran the ghost through. Living people embedded with Chenlong chess pieces will lose their spiritual energy and become weaker as time goes on, but he's been under its control for just a short while. He's fine for now. Chuaning turned to look at Moran with a frown. "How can you be sure?" "Something I came across during my travels." The ghosts plummeted to the ground and rapidly disintegrated. Shu Meng lifted Long Cheng, and black blood dripped from the blade's edge, leaving a crooked trail on the snowy ground. Beneath the moonlight, his expression was ice-cold, his pupils dull. Moran felt his heart seize. Even in the past lifetime, Shu Meng had never endured the humiliation of being turned into a chess piece. Who had done this? Something was moving at the edge of the forest. Moran came back to his senses. "Looks like someone's arrived," he said quietly. 2 figures had emerged from the trees and now traversed the frozen lake, stopping before an array glowing with jade-green light. One held a holy weapon, but Moran couldn't tell what type it was from his vantage point. Its wielder cracked the ice with a slap of their hand and tossed the holy weapon into the lake water at the center of the array. It lit up at once, its radiance piercing the darkness, just as the moon emerged from behind the clouds. The clear, cold light fell on the desolate surface of the lake, throwing the pair in the center into sharp relief. The first was a man in luxurious formal robes, embroidered with gold. He wore a thick cloak over those robes, and a wide-brimmed bamboo hat that obscured his face from view. The second person's feet were bare, despite the freezing weather. Apparently heedless of the cold, they lifted their head to gaze at the heavenly rift into the infinite hells. Moran gasped. "No way! Shu Shuangling?" Moran was confounded. Shu Shuangling? The Shuangling elder? But this was Ye Wangshi's foster father, who had shielded his ward with his own body in the past lifetime. He was a good man who had died within a torrent of blades. How could it be him? Chuaning didn't notice Moran's confusion. He tapped Moran on the shoulder and said in a low voice, "Keep moving." "Why hasn't he appeared yet?" said the person in the bamboo hat who stood beside Chu Shuangling. Moran recognized Nangong Liu's voice at once. He was clearly anxious and impatient. "God damn it, did you get it wrong?" "Let's wait and see," replied Chu Shuangling. "Hurry up, tear the heavenly rift wider. Who knows when those guests will send their own people here. We'll run out of time if this goes on much longer." Now, I know you're impatient, but you know as well as I why we can't tear this heavenly rift wider. The situation spun out of control at Butterfly Town because we were too hasty, and we ended up attracting attention from all 10 great sects. Try to control yourself, or our efforts will be wasted again. Ugh. Shu Shuangling closed his eyes. "Sect leader, you went through so much trouble to obtain these 5 holy weapons of different elements to absorb the spiritual energies of these cultivators. You've held out for so many years. What's one more night?" "You're right." Nangong Liu took a deep breath and nodded. "I've waited for 5 long years. No, more than that. I've been waiting for this since the day I became the leader of the Rufeng sect." Nangong Liu muttered under his breath as he stroked the thumb ring beneath his sleeve, a gloomy light in his eyes. "I've been waiting all this time." "You needn't wait any longer." A man's austere voice rang through the silence over the lake, like thunder piercing the clouds. The two on the ice exchanged a look of alarm. The bright moon hung in the sky, and the wind soared through the pine forest. Upon a branch stood a slender figure. His long phoenix eyes narrowed in anger. His pale blue robes billowed in the wind. Their hue, darker than his usual raiment, made his face look pale as icy jade, his handsome features exuding a bone-deep frostiness. "Nangong Liu, it's over." Nangong Liu jumped in surprise. Through gritted teeth, he seethed. "Chuaning!" Tianwen crackled with golden sparks. By its light, Chuaning's flashing eyes appeared all the more threatening. "If it isn't the great Yuheng Elder, the Baidu Immortal. What pity you didn't stay dead after Butterfly Town. Now you're here to ruin my plans again, you bastard." Chuaning blinked and frowned severely. "Then you were the one behind that calamity 5 years ago?" Now that he'd been exposed, Nangong Liu didn't try to hide. He snorted. "So what if I was?" Chuaning lifted Tianwen and brushed his hand over the willow vine, which began to glow by inches following the touch of his fingers, platinum bright. His eyes were falcon-like as he spoke. "Back when you sought a weapon from Jincheng Lake, the mythical beast in the lake asked for your wife's spiritual core in exchange. You ordered someone to cut out her heart and toss it into the lake. I was so repulsed I wanted to kill you then. But you pleaded that Nangong Si was still young and couldn't grow up without a father. You said you'd been possessed and felt endless remorse. You said that from that day on, you would live up to Rufeng sect's upstanding reputation and do no more evil. You." As his fingers passed over the last length of the willow vine, there was a burst of golden light. Chuaning bit each word between his teeth. "Nangong Liu, you haven't repented in the slightest. You're a monster." "You blame me for this?" Nangong Liu let out a laugh. "Chu Zongshi, why don't you blame yourself for being so young and naive back then? Weren't you but 15? So innocent and artless. I only said a few words, shed a few tears, and threw Xie forward as an excuse, and you let me off the hook. Zongshi, think about it. It's the fact that I stand here before you, not a direct consequence of you letting me walk free that day." Before his words had faded, a furious gale whirled to life. Tianwen tore through the darkness as it flew toward Nangong Liu. Light danced and flames lashed the heavens. In an instant, the sheet of ice over the lake cracked in two. "Rise up!" shouted Nangong Liu. A glimmer flared to life in the eyes of the puppets prowling of the lake. One after another, they turned and rushed toward Chuaning. Shumeng, the most able fighter among them, charged at the head of the group, and Longcheng and Tianwen met with a violent clang. Afraid to injure Shumeng, Chuaning withdrew his power and leapt back a few feet, his expression ferocious. "Nangong Liu, is this the extent of your skill? You force others to fight in your stead?" "Ha! My skill is in making it impossible for you to touch me," Nangong Liu said, laughing heartily. "Go on, fight them. They're all very much alive. They've just been planted with my black Chenlong chess pieces. Chuaning, this little Chuogongzi is your disciple, is he not? Can you really bring yourself to attack him? Your hands are tied. You may as well sit and wait for death. You're no different than you were more than a decade past at Jincheng Lake. You're powerless here. You have no choice but to let me go, you." His raving came to a sudden halt, his triumphant smile doused with a bucket of cold water, turning to smoke and ash. Chuaning's expression was far too calm. Nangong Liu stared fixedly at Chuaning, unsettled by the steady assurance on his face. He shuddered, and a note of doubt crept into his voice as his mouth opened and closed. "What are you planning?" Chuaning didn't waste another breath on Nangong Liu. Gaze frigid, he brandished his holy weapon in one hand and yelled grimly, "Tianwen, 10,000 coffins." Dozens of golden vines shot from the ground to bind each of the puppets who had been planted with Chenlong chess pieces. Another sturdy, massive vine soared out of the frozen lake, breaking through the waves like the legendary azure dragon. One elegant leap brought Chuaning atop the vine. Sleeves fluttering behind him, he sat upon it and raised a slender yet powerful hand. He intoned clearly, "Zhuge, come." Golden light surged from his palm and coalesced into a guqin on his lap, black as pitch. The instrument's tail swooped up like a piece of living wood, its tip covered in lush leaves and haitang blossoms. Each string was a pure ice white, threads of frozen mist diffusing from its surface. This was the holy weapon Zhuge. If Tianwen's most useful move was wind, a wide-range killing blow, then Zhuge was Ode, a healing technique that cleared the mind. As Chuaning lightly plucked the strings and played a few measures of Ode, bewilderment surfaced on the faces of the people under the control of the Chenlong chess formation. They stopped struggling against Tianwen's vines and looked around in apparent confusion. Nangong Liu was furious. He mouthed the words of an incantation, veins bulging on his forehead as he countered Chuaning's efforts. Seeing that he was outmatched, he frantically whipped around. "Shuangling, disrupt the sound of his guqin." "Me? Okay. Xu Shuangli replied languidly. He sighed and turned helplessly toward the massive willow vine atop which Chuaning was perched. But before he could make a move, a black shadow darted before him. Facing into the wind, Moran raised a hand to block Xu Shuangling's path with his whip. "Shuangling, elder, care for a match?" Xu Shuangling blinked. He suddenly chortled. "Trying to stop me? You and your master really are cut from the same cloth. How very touching." "The barriers," Chuaning said to Moran without pausing his hands. "They're all set." Moran's belated entrance wasn't for naught. He had been setting up barriers around the perimeter of the frozen lake, according to Chuaning's instructions. Even if this heavenly rift wasn't so severe as Butterfly Town's, The vicious ghosts and evil spirits imprisoned in the infinite hells were twisted creatures with no conscience or inhibitions. The situation would be manageable if only a handful escaped into the mortal realm. Otherwise, they would be plagued with bloodshed until all the fiends could be dealt with. Moran and Shuangling clashed, trading 10 blows in the blink of an eye. "Shuangling, elder, stop trying to get to my Shizun," said Moran. "I'm the one you should be dealing with." "Seriously?" Shuangling cackled. "Are people only allowed to fight their assigned opponents nowadays? Young man, you're a bit too fierce. This uncle's getting too old for such rough handling." Moran stared at him, speechless. "I'll be destroyed if I keep fighting with you." Shuangling continued cheerfully. "Shaogege, have some mercy. Go easy on me and let me play with your Shizun instead. Pretty please?" Moran had no idea how to face Shuangling. In his past life, he'd watched Shuangling die. He'd felt strongly that he wasn't an evil person. Who could have guessed that in this lifetime, the masterminds behind the repeated calamities were Nangong Liu and the same Shuangling? Moran was lost in silence, pouring all his focus into the fight. Jiang Gui had the same interrogation ability as Tian Wen. Uncovering Shuangling's true motives would be a simple matter if Moran could get the vine around him. But Shuangling's martial skills were formidable, far superior to Nangong Liu's. As he floated like a dancing kite above the shattered ice of the lake, Jiang Gui's red light struck glancing blows, never closing fully around its target. Besides, this man was Ye Wangxi's foster father. Moran couldn't help but harbor some goodwill toward him, even now. Shuangling threw his head back in a wicked laugh. "Time's up, Mo Zhangshe. Apologies in advance." "What?" Moran couldn't make sense of his words. "I'm off to bully your master." Shuangling raised a hand. Light flashed from his fingertips, and a ribbon of white silk hurtled toward Chuanling's chin-playing figure with a murderous whistle. Moran cared for Chuanling more than anyone. He was immediately distracted. Eyes dark, Shuangling used his free hand to draw a fan from his waist and thrust it toward Moran's throat. Blood splattered with a sinister rustle from the fan. Despite Moran's hasty dodging, the sharp edge of the fan had cut into his neck. Shuangling recalled the fan, now stained with Moran's blood, and flicked it downward. As the drops of blood fell into the lake, a rich green glow lit its depths. Moran looked down. Within the central wood elemental array, Nangong Liu and Shuangling had been guarding. The holy weapon was submerged in the cold lake water. It had already absorbed all the life essence from the surrounding vegetation. With this drop of Moran's blood, rich with spiritual energy, the holy weapon shone with a dazzling jade brilliance. The earth shuddered. After a breath of silence, a dark and ancient saber broke the surface of the water, blazing with fearsome light. "The forbidden spell has been cast!" Shuangling yelled to Nangong Liu. "He's coming! Quick, get below the heavenly rift! Prepare to fight! Prepare to fight!" Prepare to fight? Were they summoning some fiend from the infinite hells just to fight him? But Moran had only a moment to entertain this thought. The instant he had a clear view of the holy weapon suspended mid-air, there was no room in his mind for aught else. He felt that he was the one lashed by a whip, completely immobilized and unable to utter a single word. The weapon absorbing the wood elemental energy was none other than Taxianjun's vicious blade of 100 battles, the holy weapon Bugui. A dull ache ripped through Moran's chest. His vision flashed dark, and indistinct voices seemed to murmur in his ears. He was unable to catch his breath. It was as though all the blood he'd shed in his previous life had rushed out of the darkness to soak him to the bone. He was nauseated and dizzy, his heart hammering. Shu Shuangling took hold of Bugui. Moran didn't think. He raised his own hand at once to summon the weapon. But no sooner had he sent out a thread of spiritual energy than the sound of Chuaning's guqin ceased. Moran turned with a vague sense of foreboding. His pupils contracted. Shizun! How could he forget? Chuaning's spiritual core was weak. The doctor at Chuanyan Pavilion had said as much years ago. Bugui and Chuaning were in some way incompatible. The blade lashed out at Chuaning, affecting his already vulnerable core. How could he have possibly forgotten? Moran broke his link with Bugui and leapt onto the massive vine. In the instant before the spiritual vine began to wilt, he snatched Chuaning, whose face was white with pain, and leapt back into the air. Cradling Chuaning in his arms, he touched down in the nearby tangerine grove. Behind them, Tianwen's 10,000 coffins crumbled and fell away. Fortunately, the pawns within had become disoriented. Although they hadn't yet completely regained their senses, they no longer heeded Nangong Liu's commands. They stood with blank expressions, as if dreaming. Shizun! Racked by anxiety and remorse, Moran knelt in the snow, holding Chuaning as he ran gentle fingers over his face. Chuaning's brows were tightly knit. Are you okay? A trail of blood trickled from the corner of Chuaning's mouth. Moran hurriedly wiped it away, heart aching like it was being wrung out. He suddenly thought of the past life, when Chuaning had also lain in his arms like this, at the summit of Kunlun Mountain, blood flowing from his eyes, mouth and ears as he died. Then, as now, Moran had wiped at the florid streams in a panic, unable to staunch their flow. His heart felt like it was being drilled into. Does it hurt a lot? He asked, the rims of his eyes red. Bugui's adverse energy had taken a heavy toll on Chuaning. To him, it had felt like the weapon's power had rushed into his chest and attempted to split it in two. Even more concerning was the broken succession of mirages that danced and warped before his eyes. With great effort, Chuaning shook his head to clear those blurry illusions and struggled to sit. He cast a glance in Nangong Liu's direction, and the last bit of color drained from his face. Tapping into unknown reserves of energy, he grabbed Moran's arm and rasped, Over there, watch out. Moran saw that Chuaning's face was the yellow of joss paper, his eyes flashing with astonishment, reflecting the light of the fire. Wait, fire? Moran turned and saw that the rift was no longer disgorging small ghosts and demons. Instead, the roiling lava of the underworld spilled into the sky. The fire lapped at the heels of the escaping ghosts and incinerated them. The fiends had no chance to so much as scream before going up in a puff of dark flame. What was this? The lava hung suspended between heaven and earth, like a waterfall of red and gold, flowing sluggishly, sinister and breathtaking at once. As it reached the lake, the shards of ice and surging water caught like kindling. At the forefront of the crowd, Nangong Liu and Shu Shuangling cast a tremendous water elemental spell to avoid being swallowed by the towering flames. The lava flowed slowly but inexorably. It wasn't before long it neared those who had been embedded with Chenlong chess pieces. Cursing under his breath, Moran raised his hands to form a spell sign, but he wasn't familiar with water elemental spells. Halfway through, Chuaning, lying in his arms, reached up to still his hands. Face white, he said, The seal is incorrect. Let me. Moran helped him sit up, supporting Chuaning with his own body, but caught hold of his wrists. Stop moving. Show me how to do it. Chuaning hesitated, but his own spiritual power had been damaged, and he might not be able to cast the spell properly. Lives hung in the balance. He couldn't afford to be careless. He took Moran's hands and painstakingly arranged his fingers into correct positioning, then said hoarsely, "Cast the spell." Spiritual energy flowed from Moran's fingertips. A barrier formed swiftly mid-air, transforming into a blue wave that enclosed the unconscious puppets. Chuaning let out a small breath. He looked up, intending to praise Moran, to find that handsome face, lit by the hellfire's glow, glimmering with tear tracks. Was he crying? Why was he crying? Chuaning was stumped. Shimei wasn't present. Shuomang was as yet unharmed, and the others around the lake were strangers to Moran. Could Chuaning be so bold, so greedy, as to presume Moran's tears were for him? He eventually settled on saying, "Don't cry." Moran seemed to come to his senses and hastily swiped at his face. "Aren't you too old to be acting like this?" Moran only looked at him with tear-filled eyes and asked, "Does it hurt?" Chuaning was taken aback. Where the pain still lingered in his chest, a warmth suddenly bloomed, gentle as spring water. Anguish and tenderness entwined, aching and painful, bitter and sweet. For the first time in his life, Chuaning's personal feelings overtook him as he faced the crisis. He couldn't hold them back, no matter how inappropriate the time and place. "It's just a minor injury. I summoned 2 holy weapons and put a strain on my spiritual energy. Perhaps an old issue flared up." Chuaning raised his hand. He hovered, hesitating, then patted Moran on the head. "Don't worry, it doesn't hurt anymore." He turned again to look at the rushing, raging flames of the underworld. His eyes slowly darkened as he pushed down the pain, a steady determination emerging in its place. "Keep an eye on Nangong Liu. Find the right opportunity." Chuaning paused before continuing bluntly, "And kill him." Chuaning's glare burned with hatred, yet even more than that, there was remorse. What Nangong Liu had said wasn't wrong. He had been a youth of 15 at Jincheng Lake and hadn't yet understood the ways of the world. Nangong Liu had shown himself to be evil, but Chuaning had let him go. In choosing to preserve the peace of the upper cultivation realm and to protect Arsi, who was then so young, he had concealed Nangong Liu's sacrifice of his own wife to obtain a holy weapon. In the ignorant naivete and kindness of his youth, he had allowed these events to come to pass. He had released the tiger back into its forest, resulting into the hellfire before them now. But he still didn't understand. What was Nangong Liu trying to do?